Hi, everyone. How are you? Happy Friday. Welcome to Therapeutic Wisdom from the AKASH on Awoken TV. Oh, there we go. I can see myself now. Say hello if you guys are hopping on. I am just going to take a moment to share this out, and then I am happy to share all of the goodness with you guys. If you have not been on Awoken TV before, please let me know. Awoken TV is a brilliant opportunity for you to access all sorts of spiritual and metaphysical content. And you can access it through the App Store, or you can go to the website www.awoken.tv, and you're going to find courses, you're going to find conscious filmmakers, you're going to find light workers that are sharing all sorts of goodness about the ascension process, about spiritual awakening, about healing, etc. So please be sure to check that out. I am here live every Friday, typically at 10 a.m. Eastern, but today I had to go, and last week I had to go live a little bit later just because of the kids starting school and being home virtually. And I know that a lot of people are in that position right now. So definitely share this out. Today we're going to be talking about dissociation. So I'm doing some share outs now just so that people have the opportunity to access this information. The Akashic Records have brought through so much for today, so much goodness. And just so you know, if you guys are here and saying hi and letting me know where you're tuning in from, please make sure to come live on Awoken TV if you want me to answer anything live, just because I do not see the comments that are being posted on Emerge Healing and Wellness or the Akashic Academy until I am done with the live, which I'm happy to respond to you then too, especially if you tag me in it. But if you need me to answer things live, please make sure to jump over to Awoken TV Facebook page, and that is where I will be able to answer all of your questions and see them here in the feed. Okay? And if anybody wants to say hi, please do here on Awoken TV so that I know that the comments are working, because sometimes they're not working. Because Facebook can get a little glitchy. So, how's everybody doing today? I hope you're looking forward to the weekend. I'm here in New York, about an hour north of New York. My name is Laura Mazzotta, and I am an Akashic therapist, which means that I've been a therapist for almost 20 years. And then I had some challenges with my own physical health. I got sepsis about 4 years ago, and hi Sharon, thank you so much for letting me know. I can see the comments. And so at that time, I started looking for alternative methods to healing because I could only get so far with the medical community. They helped me, they supported me, but I could only get so far. So I wanted to make sure to not give up and throw up my hands and just believe what they said, which was that I was never going to get better. Hi, Mandy. Thanks for being here. And really explore alternatives. And the Akashic Records are what blew me away the most. And even just being attuned to that space before I even started to do this work with my clients, I started to see shifts and changes within them. And, you know, clients who had been working for years, years and years on themselves with mental health, with physical health, and, you know, they made some progress, but they were kind of maintaining on a certain plateau. And once we started using the Akashic Records with them, or I was just attuned to it, they started opening up, and they started shifting and changing in ways that they had been working so hard to achieve for years. So it was a no-brainer for me that I needed to share this modality with the world to let other people know how efficient and effective this level of healing is, and how much longevity exists with it, right? It's not just a temporary band-aid, it really sticks with you. So say hello if you guys are jumping on. Feel free to share out to anyone who has experienced dissociation. Dissociation can, and I'm going to define it in a minute, but it can occur alongside depression, PTSD, anxiety, psychosis. Amnesia is one form of dissociation, so any kind of cognitive disabilities. So dissociation can show up in a lot of different ways, and it can be fleeting, or it can be clinically diagnosed as something that really interferes with your functioning and needs to be treated. So there's a whole spectrum of dissociation. So you guys can ask me your questions below. You can also let me know if you have had experiences with this symptom before, and I'm happy to share what the Akashic Records have brought through. Okay, so what is dissociation? Basically, dissociation, again, there's many forms, and I'm going to describe those two today, but the most typical form of dissociation is feeling kind of disconnected, right? Feeling kind of like you're in a brain fog, or you're in a trance, or you're just kind of out there, right? like floating in the clouds somewhere, and you're not fully present when somebody's talking to you. So it's almost like that scenario where, oh, I just had a conversation with Mandy and I have no idea what I said, and I have no idea how we even maintained that conversation because I was so out of it, right? Just kind of being spacey and out of it, okay? So that's the most common way that dissociation is described. But it can also show up as memory difficulties, difficulties remembering either short-term or long-term events that have happened in your life. It can also show up as depersonalization or derealization. So depersonalization is when we feel disconnected from our own bodies, okay? And this is really common for people who have intense anxiety. So people who have a lot of anxiety can kind of feel like they're coming out of their own body and like, whoo, my anxiety is so high that I can't even stay present within my physical frame, okay? Derealization is feeling that you're disconnected from the world around you. So you feel you're real, but you feel like the things around you are kind of a mirage, kind of an illusion, right? And you're kind of disconnected from reality, okay? You could also feel kind of confused with your identity, have some trouble with managing your emotions and mood swings. Mood swings can be a little bit sharper and more dramatic as well. And I'm sure everybody has heard about dissociative identity disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder. But dissociative identity disorder, feeling like you're basically dissociating from your primary personality and shifting into another personality. And it can be several personalities that exist in DID. And it's very rare. DID is very, very rare, but it's also very, very treatable. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that as well. So it's interesting because the actual, not clinical, but dictionary definition of dissociation is a separation from normally connected mental processes. That's really the psychiatric definition of it, a separation from normally connected mental processes. So one of these mental processes is disconnected from the rest of them, okay? So let's look at this. There's gonna be a lot of food for thought that you guys are gonna get today on this live, okay? So one of the pieces here that I'm gonna give you as food for thought, hey Jennifer, thanks for being here, honey, is what is normal anyway? Separation from normally connected mental processes. Okay, so what's normal? Who defines that, right? How is that defined? We're all here together to serve our own unique purpose, to be able to work together to forward this planet, to be able to raise our consciousness and come together in love and collaboration, right? So how do you think our globe would function if we all did the same thing, if we all had the same purposes, if all of our mental processes worked the same way, right? First of all, it would be pretty boring. Second of all, you know, it really offers us a level of thinking outside of the box and creativity to all be here together. So dissociation being separated from typical mental processes. All right, so we all have mental processes, and I think that we all need a break from mental processes a lot of the time. In fact, that's why we engage in practices such as meditation. That's why we're originally drawn to some of those things, to disconnect from our day-to-day and our ego chattering to us all the time, right? So dissociation is really common in situations where there's been abuse or trauma, okay? Because what happens is you picture a little kiddo, and they're experiencing trauma or a very, very intense, emotionally intense scenario. And it could be abuse. It could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse. And basically what happens is they hide, right? They hide. And so if they keep getting exposed to this abuse and they don't feel like they can stop it, they feel helpless to stop it, they don't know what to do about it, and they can't escape it, they're going to escape within their minds. And that's what dissociation does for them. It's actually such a gift. It's such a gift for children and for people who are encountering severe or intense trauma or abuse to be able to say, I'm going to go to my happy place. I'm going to go to this place of stillness within myself where I can entertain anything that I want. I can entertain any scenario or fantasy or dream that I am looking for because it's within me. And your brain automatically takes you there. It's preventing you from getting overstimulated by the situation, and so that your brain and the circuits don't, short circuit, basically. Right? So it's a very protective function, dissociation. And it comes up for a reason. So you don't want to take dissociation away from somebody who really needs it to be able to navigate whatever it is they might be experiencing in their lives. And safety is also very important. So a lot of people dissociate before they cut themselves or before they're self-injurious. A lot of people dissociate before they do anything to harm themselves, even if it's suicide. Some people dissociate when they harm someone else. So in those scenarios, yes, of course, we want to tune into safety and establish a sense of safety. And we want to assess that sense of safety. Okay? But aside from that, the Akashic Records have information to bring through about dissociation that I think is really helpful for us to look at and to discuss and kind of brainstorm together. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback about what they're bringing through. Okay? So if somebody's dissociating, you're dissociating, you feel like I'm out of it, I'm in a fog, I'm like not present. I almost want you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in, connecting to this part of yourself that's separated, and then consciously remove it. Consciously bring this energy out of your physical body, placing it in front of you, and have a conversation with it. Instead of avoiding it and saying, oh my gosh, this is scaring the crap out of me, what's going on? Turn around and look at it, right? It's coming up for a reason. It has a message for you. So asking it, what are you trying to tell me? What's the information that you're here to teach me? What are the lessons that I am meant to take from this symptom being present in my life and in my situation? Okay, because it's separating for a reason. So the questions the Akashic Records want us to ask about this are, this part of us that is mentally separated, why is it separated? Does it want to stand out? Maybe it wants some more attention. Maybe it needs some more attention. In which case you can heed that advice and you can show yourself more attention. You can show yourself more self-love. You can connect with yourself on a more intimate level. Offer yourself that inner child work and that reparenting to really give yourself what it is this part of your mind, this part of your experience is telling you. Does it want to be more bold? Does it feel like it hasn't been heard? Does it need to be heard? Great opportunity to sit down and journal, to have a conversation with yourself, to leave yourself some voice notes and really hear and listen to what is coming forward for you. Or does it need to just be heard with more clarity? Does it feel like it's being misunderstood? And it's important too that when we're having these conversations, that you're also tuning into how this symbolizes what else is going on in your life. So where are there other areas in your life that you feel like you're not standing out, that you're not getting attention, that you're not being heard, that you don't have enough space? That's a big one, right? What reason would this part of ourselves have to separate if it didn't need more space, right? It needs more space. It's feeling trapped. Okay, so how can you offer yourself more space? Is it sitting in stillness and meditating? Is it getting a greater level of control and management over the thoughts that are rushing through your mind, over the emotions that are popping up and shifting so quickly? So it's also asking, how can I offer myself space? Okay. At the very least, I know what it wants is a greater level of understanding, right? A greater sense of control. So this is our core self trying to access and bring forward that part of us that really wants to communicate safety, unconditional love, support, and that exists within us, right? It's calling to us when it comes up with these symptoms. And it's going to take us to that spacey place because guess what it might be doing? It might be calling us forward to a higher version of ourselves. It might be calling us into a dimension that has information for us that we need to implement and integrate into our lives to live a more productive lifestyle, to be happier and healthier and more vital. Okay? Just checking in my notes here. So one of the things I think is really important to bring forward is that, you know, some people experience mental illness symptoms or mental health symptoms during the season, like during the different seasons. So they vary depending on the season. So coming on the winter, with the winter coming up, and A lot of people can feel like, oh, this is a tough time of year for me. There's a lot of transitions, there's a lot of holidays, and it can be a tough time of year. And so people can become more dissociative. People can become more symptomatic regardless of what we're talking about during the winter months, okay? So if dissociation is something that rears its head as you're heading into the winter time, is it giving you that message that you need more stillness, that you need more rest time, that you need to go within, that you need to hibernate, right? That's what it's telling us to do. It's telling us take greater care of yourself, allow yourself to nourish, right? This is a time of year when we eat more soup, more chili, more warm, comforting items, right? Bringing yourself to that space where you're saying like, okay, I'm going to nourish myself with that. I'm going to offer myself that space to be able to bring forward what will nourish and comfort me. So let me know what questions are coming up so far, and I'm happy to answer them. But I think it's definitely very important to say that just because dissociation comes up doesn't mean that something's wrong. Okay, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. That's what most people say to me. Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind. What the hell's wrong with me? I can't even think straight. Right? And it is scary. It's scary if it's a symptom that you haven't experienced before, because you really do feel disconnected. You feel like you can't trust your own judgment, but you can. And guess what? It's within you. It's not just within you, but your higher self is feeding it to you. The Akashic Records, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is feeding you infinite intelligence, infinite creativity, answers, resolution, comfort, unconditional love. It's coming in at all times. So what's most productive is to use this call of dissociation. And this is what most of my clients are really afraid of. They are very afraid of opening it up and saying, welcome. Welcome in, divine beings. Welcome in, universe. Welcome in, spirituality, intuition, higher self, because they think their symptoms are going to get worse. So this is an important point to discuss, because when we do intuitive work, when we access higher realms, yes, we are heightening our frequency. On a physical level, on a cognitive level, on an emotional level, we're heightening our energy frequency. It can give us similar symptoms to dissociation. We can feel dizzy, we can feel out of it, we can feel spacey, we can feel like, what? I'm in another dimension, because you are, okay? So why not just go there, right? You feel like you're dissociated, you're being called into a higher level of yourself, which can mean, okay, open it up, allow that information to come through and inform you. You're not going to die if you enter the Akashic Records or enter a greater level, a higher intuitive space, or a space of higher frequency. You might feel a little dizzy, or you might feel, but you know what can help you with that is grounding. And this is critical for people who are dissociative, but also for if you have fears about becoming more intuitive or accessing a higher level space like this. And I realized I forgot to turn on my overhead lights. I'm sorry, it's starting to get darker. So I'm very sorry. I don't know why I completely forgot to turn on the lights overhead. I just have my one lamp on. So I'm glad I have a bright window here. But anyway, this is where you really want to ground, because we don't want safety issues to come up. We don't want people to feel unsafe and like they don't have this solid ground underneath them, right? So it's important that maybe if you open your Akashic Records, and I did my live on that last week, so if you guys want to know how to open the Akashic Records, you can catch that. I did it last Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. But if you want to access the records or go into meditation or do any intuitive work, sit your ass on the ground and do it there. Have a snack before you do it. Have a snack after you do it. Look around, use the 5-5-5 technique. 5 things you can see, 5 things you can smell, 5 things you can hear. And you can use any of the senses you want to mix into that 5-5-5. But allow yourself to ground as much as possible. Using these dark colored crystals can help you ground. This is a black tourmaline. Okay, so holding dark colored crystals while you do any intuitive work can assist you with staying grounded, with being connected to your physical body. You can also, while you're doing intuitive work, really connect with your physical body. Give yourself massages. Hold mudras. Okay, mudra is like sign, seal, or gesture. That's what that word means. And it's shapes that we make with our hands that create energetic circuits for the prana, for the breath to flow, to enhance the momentum of the intuitive work that we're doing. So you can use grounding mudras to keep you grounded as well. Okay, so grounding is something that I would really encourage you to do if you're dissociative. if you can't even get there because you feel like you're so out of it that you can't even think straight, which happens a lot of the time, then I encourage you to use the TIP skill from DBT, TIP, and DBT is called Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. It's wonderful therapy that has a lot of very helpful skills to help us move through managing emotions, okay? And it was created by Marsha Linehan, originally for borderline personality disorder, because there's a lot of emotional volatility in that diagnosis. And basically what it's meant to do is take the dialectic, these two opposite things that can exist in our mind at the same time. It can be, I love you, I hate you. I love him, I hate him. I love tennis, I hate tennis, right? Two things that occur at the same time, and it's confusing to you to be able to hold these two things in your mind at the same time, and it overwhelms you. That confusion overwhelms you, okay? So when you work with DBT skills, they help you to align and find some resolution within these two dialectics that exist within your mind, okay? It helps you resolve those. So the tip skill is intense sensation. You really want to expose yourself to intense sensation. And I will put the link to the tip skill here in the comments so that you have the opportunity to access it and practice it on your own, okay? But really what intense sensation is, it could be, one of my clients' favorites is holding an ice cube until it melts, because it's anything that kind of shocks you out of whatever you're in. It's like, whoa, wake up, wake up. Okay, so it can be a loud noise like that. Okay, some people will slam a book on the ground really loudly. Some people will eat a hot pepper. Some people will go outside in the freezing cold and jump in the snow if it's winter outside. Some people stick their face in the freezer. Yes, I have clients who do that. The most common one, like I said, is holding the ice cube until it melts, turning on very, very loud music, any kind of intense sensation to kind of shock your mind back to reality, like, whoo, wake up, okay? So that's one of the things that you can do with that. And so I was looking for the link now too, so that I can share it with you guys, but I wanted to share you with the tip skill. So I'll put that link in here later so that you guys can look at it and practice it and get comfortable with it. You can ask any questions that come through. Okay. So the other thing that I think is really interesting is that when we're dissociated and we're disconnected from like our experience and what's going on here, we also lose our sense of time. And I find this highly interesting because we lose our sense of time, meaning that it's like, what time is it? Like, where am I? What am I doing? Who's the president? You know, like you're just kind of like totally out of it, right? And this is brilliant that the Akashic Records brought this forward, because what they said was, well, of course that's the case, because time doesn't exist in the universe. Time doesn't exist in the spiritual realms. Time doesn't exist in higher dimensions of consciousness, and it doesn't exist in the Akashic Records. Time is a human construct. It was created to help us organize and understand our world in a more conscious way. It's been brought forward to us to help us understand our reality. It's an ego construct. Okay? But the actual reality is the fact that time doesn't exist, so that I could be living my life right now and have a past life, and they could be occurring basically at the same time, because everything happens together in the matrix and higher dimensions. So when you're dissociating and you lose time, yeah, that means that you're in another dimension. Appreciate that, accept that, and just place yourself into a space of receiving and just turn towards it and say, what do I need to know right now? What is it that I need to bring forward? What is this bringing forward for me? How can this assist me? How can this benefit me? And I'm going to give you guys some steps to, some tools to use in just a moment here too, that you can jot down for when you're in a state of dissociation, so that you don't have to like sift through this and figure out, you know, what tools you want to use and what not. I'm going to list them for you, okay? I'm just trying to find this skill for you guys as well, because I want you guys to be able to look at it too while we're live, so that if you have any questions, you can ask me. Oh, here it is. Yay. Such a big girl. I found it. Okay. So let me just put it in here. There you go. Okay. So check that out and let me know if you guys have questions about the tip skill. Okay. Alrighty. So, um, I just think that it's always interesting that we need to take any symptom that comes up for us as a calling. So, what is this calling you toward? What is it calling you toward? Because you're receiving a calling towards something. Okay, your awareness is being heightened. Now, if you had no awareness of your dissociation, that's something different, and we can talk about that another time, and you can look back on it and still determine what its lesson is and still look at it and have a conversation with it for sure. But while you're in it, some people don't have that level of awareness, and that's okay. And that's when the tip skill comes in, right? Where you tip the temperature, you engage in intense exercise. So T is tip the temperature, I is engage in intense exercise. Move your physical body. Okay, get the blood flowing. Because when we do that, we're also oxygenating our blood. We're bringing in more life force energy. We're bringing in more prana. Okay, because what did I tell you about dissociation earlier? Dissociation is that hiding, right? You're avoiding. It's your mind saying, I don't want you to be exposed to too much stimulation, so I am protecting you from that. And when you do that, you're avoiding reality. You're taking a step back from reality, which is fine for the moment, especially if you're in a traumatic situation. But long term, this is something that can really make you feel uncomfortable, right? And lead to an impact in your functioning. So when you're kind of stepping back and avoiding that way, when you avoid on a consistent basis and you isolate on a consistent basis, unless you're going into meditation or doing some kind of really intentional spiritual practice, it can lead to depression. It can lead to lack of motivation and lack of interest in doing things. So what we engage here is another DBT skill called opposite action. So we turn towards it and we do the opposite of what we want to do. When we avoid, we want to hide, we want to pull the covers over our heads. Nope, get your ass up and go move your body. You can stretch, you can breathe, you can do yoga, you can do intense exercise, you can sing really loudly, because singing is still using your physical body. Anything that uses your physical body. Tapping is a wonderful one. I know we have somebody on Awaken TV who does tapping, so you can check that out too. Okay? And the P in the tip skill stands for paced breathing. The most effective breath for people who are high anxiety, and people who are dissociative are extremely high anxiety, because people just, when your anxiety gets really, really high, even if you've never had a dissociative diagnosis, you're going to feel dissociated. You're going to feel kind of out of it and separated from other people. Okay? So the best thing that you can do with breath work to lower your anxiety is using alternate nostril breathing. So I don't know if any of you have used alternate nostril breathing before, but it's fantastic because it constricts your airway to the point where you cannot breathe in more quickly and you cannot exhale more quickly. So it automatically slows it down, and it's impossible for you to not slow down your breath. And it's the best way to force yourself to slow down your breath, really get that life force energy moving, but restrict your airway to allow it to pace your breathing and slow it down, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system and the relaxation response and brings you down to a state of greater calm. So how you do this is you hold one side of your nostril and you breathe in. Then you close the other side and you breathe out slowly. Breathe back in the same side. And breathe back out the other. And the recommendation is to do this for a minimum of 7 rounds. Okay? So I recommend that you try that and implement that if dissociation is something that has shown up for you in your life. I'm just checking the comments to make sure that nobody's saying anything. Nope. So that is one way that you can use breathing in the tip skill. Okay? Once you've gotten to a state of safety and you've been able to establish that for yourself, you're going to be more open to appreciating that this dissociation showed up in the first place, right? Because right now you're probably thinking, well, I don't want this dissociation. I don't want this. I got to get rid of it. Well, guess what? Anytime we're in that desperate energy of, I got to get rid of this, I got to get rid of this, I got to get rid of this, then you're calling more of that towards you. You're calling desperate energy towards you, okay? And we do not want to call desperate energy towards us. What we want is a state of calm, okay? So you guys can refer to my fight or flight video. I did a fight or flight video on, returning to a state of safety within yourself and finding a state of safety. But one of the basic ways to do this is to return to basic needs. Simply focus on, am I getting enough food? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough water? Right? Am I exercising my body? So again, moving your body. Okay, so that's one of the ways that you can establish safety, is reminding yourself, I am nourishing myself, I am caring for myself in the most basic way to provide myself with a safe foundation. Because that's what we came into this world with, right? What did we need? We needed love, we needed belonging, we needed hugs, we needed food, we needed nourishment, we needed sleep, we needed comfort. Offering all of those things to yourself. Okay, so it could be that you're combining all 5 of your senses and doing this by snuggling under your blanket and having a cup of tea and turning on a candle that smells really nice and putting on some music, right? And anytime you incorporate all 5 senses, you're going to be more grounded. And if you can't do 5, do 4. If you can't do 4, do 3. But the more you do, the more grounded you'll be. The best way to ground is to actually ground. Go outside and put your feet on the ground, because the bottom of our feet are the most porous area of our body. And the earth is an opposite charge to our physical body. So we're basically neutralizing and balancing our energy field automatically by putting our feet on the ground, on the earth, okay? But you can refer back to that other video for other ideas. Okay, so let me just give you these steps, okay? So one of them is obviously establishing the sense of safety as first, and that includes returning to your basic needs, okay? So that's number 1 when you're experiencing dissociation, especially chronic dissociation. Another one is being really aware of the fact that you have a slower processing speed when you're dissociated. Okay, we all have a slower processing speed in that space. There's a reason for that, friends, because the universe is trying to tell you, slow the down. Slow down, okay? It's saying, I'm overstimulated. I can't take any more in. This is too much for me, okay? So it's at that point that you need to listen. Place yourself into an environment that's less stimulating. Offer yourself a good week. If it's chronic dissociation, give yourself a good week of lower stimulation. Take the freaking week off. Oh, I can't do that. My boss is going to be pissed at me. Well, guess what? I'd rather have you healthy, safe, and aligned, because you're going to be so much more successful going forward if you do that. Choose you over anyone or anything else. You choose you and your vibe. Be preventive in the way that you take care of yourself. Don't wait until the shit hits the fan and you're so dissociated that you can't tell your left foot from your right foot. When you start seeing some symptoms, jump on it sooner rather than later, okay? Establish a sense of safety on a daily basis. Those are the kinds of things that you can do for yourself that's so loving, to be able to prevent these kinds of things from becoming chronic or developing into something else, okay? So take less in. If you're on social media all the time and you have all of this stimulation coming towards you from social media, take a break. What do you consider stimulating? What you consider stimulating might not be something I consider stimulating. People come to my house and they're like, how do you deal with this noise? Because I have 3 children, blah, all the time, making noise. I'm used to it. I'm fine with it. It doesn't overstimulate me. But it would overstimulate somebody else probably. So being very clear for yourself, what overstimulates me and what doesn't? What stimulates me? And how much can I tolerate in a day? So then maybe you set a rule for yourself. I can only do 3 stimulating things in one day. These are the things that stimulate me. All right, and get a really good understanding of that, because it helps you understand yourself better, okay? And lastly, look how dark it's getting. I'm sorry, guys. I totally forgot to turn on my overhead light. And lastly, shrinking into the background. You know what this is highlighting for me? It's highlighting for me that it's fall and it's getting dark so much sooner. I'm going to scooch. It's highlighting that it's fall now and it's getting dark so much earlier. I'm not used to it being this dark at this time of night. So anyway, when you're dissociated, you're shrinking into the background. You're shrinking away from the things that could serve you so deeply if you just took the information that was coming forward when this happens, right? So you're shrinking into the background. Guess what that means? Claim your power. You're getting the message that you need to be more bold. You need to claim your power. You need to step more into what you desire and what lights you up and what makes your life worth living. There might be something that you need to say that you haven't been saying because you've been trying to protect somebody's feelings, or you're worried about how you're going to look, or X, Y, or Z, right? You're being called to say it. And if you need somebody's help to do that and somebody's support because you don't feel stable doing it on your own, fine, ask for help. But don't allow it to be an excuse for not doing it and following through with something that you need to do to serve yourself. Because otherwise, this symptom's going to keep returning for you. Okay? Oh, I want to share a really, really cool fact with you. I find this fascinating. And the Akashic Records actually brought this forward for me. So what they brought forward was this: the definition of dissociation in chemistry. So does anybody know this? Does anybody know how chemistry defines dissociation? And this is what I'm going to leave you with tonight, because it's kick-ass wisdom from the Akash. Kick-ass. In chemistry, dissociation is defined as, and I'm going to read this, the splitting of a molecule into smaller molecules, atoms, or ions, especially by a reversible process. I'm going to read that again. In chemistry, dissociation is defined as the splitting of a molecule into smaller molecules, atoms, or ions, especially by a reversible process. Talk about dissociation being a call to return to our souls, to return to where we came from, to return to our original makeup. Talk about symbolism and a message right there in that. Splitting of a molecule into smaller molecules in a reversible process. We are all made up of atoms and molecules. All matter is, and we're all just a different conglomeration of those same atoms and molecules. And in dissociation, we are being asked to reverse the splitting of these molecules. What does that mean? That means that we are being called to come back to our wholeness. We are being called to bring in all of that scattered energy that's become scattered in our lives over the course of our conditioning and our experiences and being humans on this planet. And we are being called to integrate it back into the whole, into that soul version of who we are, our soul purpose, our soul mission for being here on this planet. I mean, I cannot think of a more beautiful call. So please know that when we experience these symptoms that can be scary, that can be confusing, that can be uncomfortable, they are beautiful gifts and reminders and requests to bring us back to the brilliance of who we are that exists within us at all times. And we just need to receive and allow ourselves access to it. And if you guys want to start on this journey, or if you don't know where to start, send me a message and say, I want to start. Okay? I have a Akashic Record certification program that started this week. The group of people in here are phenomenal. Just entering this high-level container is going to be heightening your frequency just by being present there. Because you're going to be spending time with other people who are accessing these higher realms of consciousness, tapping into infinite possibility, integrating the scattered energy, and coming back to their wholeness and claiming their power, and using this to teach others so that they can teach others, so that they can teach others, so that we can spread this information to more people, so that we can have a more peaceful and collaborative and healthy and vital planet. And these kinds of symptoms are not going to have a purpose or a place anymore, because we're going to be integrated and we're going to be connected on a more consistent basis. So I will place the link for the certification program in the comments. It is in the description of this post as well. So if you have questions about the program, please reach out. If you don't know where to begin, but you want to dive in and start exploring some of this, just send me a message and say, I want to start. Okay? And then join me here next week. I have a feeling I'm going to change it again for next week, and I'm hoping that's the last week because my youngest goes to hybrid learning the following week, and I should be able to meet my 10 a.m. Eastern time. But until then, stay tuned for me to be posting things about the time that this is going to air next week. I so appreciate you guys being here, for engaging in this show, for being part of this community. I encourage you to join me in Room for Healing. That is a free private Facebook group where I share a lot of tips and tools, and the community has grown and they support one another, and We're actually going to be adding a lot of new goodness over the next week. So definitely join us there. And I'd love to learn more about you and your journey, and just and assist you with finding your own guidance, empower you to find your own guidance. Okay? I love you guys. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.